you, Senator. Senator Rockefeller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think these have been very, very useful and serve, I think, a variety of purposes. And I think that the two co-chairmen of this committee have been extremely careful in making sure that everything was clear, that everybody was secure. I think it's been quite flawless that way. I think all Americans, all government officials, all people who do public service and others who just might be well known or whatever are at risk. And it occurs to me that one of the things that a hearing like this, which is in public, and when I was first confronted with this, I wasn't enthused about the idea of public hearings. On the other hand, I've changed a bit because I think that's one of the ways one educates not only the American people, but frankly the intelligence community as a whole, as well as Senator Graham, Chairman Graham said, our colleagues. And the end process here is really to make it better and more efficient for all of us, so there's less frustration for all of us, that we develop an ability to dialogue with each other, that you're more confident the system is working, which protects and helps you and propels you forward in your work rather than the walls and all the rest of it. So that I'm glad of these hearings, and I congratulate Chairman Graham and Chairman Goss. My two questions are very simple. One is to you, Mr. Kojim. That you talked about I think about a 455% increase in the tip-off database money, and committee added some money for this program for fiscal 2003 in I think the intelligence authorization bill. It doesn't mean it's happened yet. In view of what you told us this morning, does that in fact give you what you need? I mean, you know, if you say 455%, people say, wow. It could, however, in view of what you, Mr. Rollins, just said in terms of, 7,800 or 8,700 people that loose in this country, not necessarily all terrorists, but people that have committed serious crimes, everything was within a context. And I need to have a sense of satisfaction that if this money is forthcoming, it will be sufficient to your purposes.
Senator, thank you very much for the question. I hope it's not any misimpression that I left, but the nature of the 455%, it really is the increase in our workload since September 11th. Our funding would be as follows, that prior to September 11th, the program was funded at roughly a little over $1 million a year. Obviously,
I've rather reversed the tasks, have I not?
And the funds have increased some, but not proportionate to the work. With the support of
well, then let's talk about that, because that makes my question much more important.
Funding post 9/11 increased to slightly over $3 million. So it's a significant increase in a tiny program. But it is not sufficient to the workload. At the worker level, we would believe that funding ought to increase several-fold to accomplish the task. Now, our building supports that. The source of funding heretofore has been machine-readable visa fees, and what has happened since September 11th is those fees are going south and have decreased, and the requirements for those funds, because state is a player in homeland security, particularly with Mexico and Canada, the funding requirements are going north. So this is why our senior leadership has been in contact with the Director of Central Intelligence about a significant increase in resources for what is a national intelligence mission.
With any response?
Yes, I think we can say there's considerable favorable disposition, but to speak beyond that, I really can't, Senator.
Understood. There was some discussion, my final question, Mr. Chairman, there was some discussion not only in Ms. Hill's excellent report this morning, but also amongst the 5 witnesses that are before us, or at least 4 of them, about walls, lack of communication, and this is the essence of everything. I mean, it's the whole concept of so many of our national security agencies have their own campuses, and sometimes when, you know, Senator Graham and I are talking, we're talking about going abroad somewhere. Going abroad could be visiting within a 6-mile radius of the United States Capitol, visiting sort of, you know, different cultures, different people that speak different languages or don't speak to each other or have bad histories or whatever. And I don't want to overemphasize that, but one, I don't think, unless I missed it, in which case I apologize, but I'll ask it anyway, it involves the NSA. A lot's been written about the NSA. The NSA is not famous for sharing information, and I'm interested in terms of whether, I might ask that of our 2 gentlemen that I'm looking at now. Have you had any problems with that from them, the sharing of critical information?
Before September 11th, thrown into this whole FISA question was the question of whether or not we could read SIGINT. And what happened was criminal investigators were prevented before 9/11, and again, the only way I can describe it in this short time period is a snowball event, that they could not read any SIGINT because of the fact that some of the information that was being fed to them and that they were utilizing was FISA-derived information. The NSA had decided that all information then, since it's possible that some criminal investigators might read FISA information, that all criminal investigators cannot read any SIGINT whatsoever. So prior to September 11th, besides not being able to talk about the information that we've already talked about here today, no criminal investigator was able to read any SIGINT information. And that was, in my personal opinion, way too high of a wall with regards to that, because that was something that we relied on from a perspective just to kind of point us in the right direction, if you will. Realizing at the same time we knew any criminal investigator 6 months out of Quantico realizes you can never use that information in an affidavit or a subpoena or anything like that at all. And that wall has come down, but there's rumors that it might go back up with regards to SIGINT information, since a lot of it is derived or could be derived from FISA. So that is a part of the problem too, and I think it's a good thing, Senator, that you brought that up, because criminal investigators need to be able to look at that information.
Since I'm not looking at the lights, I don't know whether or not the red light is on.
It is, Senator,
But I had
and it has been.
But I had such a good short question. Quite extraordinary.
Because we are compassionate, go ahead.
It really is short, and it's to both of you gentlemen. Is there a general sense in each of you that what happened on 9/11, that whether or not this was a happy or an unhappy event, this open hearing, the fact that so much attention has been focused, the fact that people are talking about communication, walls, and all kinds of things, which they never, you know, NSA was no such agency for years, and maybe some people are beginning to learn about it. Is there a sense that there's a brighter future out there, or are you the overwhelming factor that one of you used? Does that predominate? Are you looking? Do you think at an improving situation? Do you feel that the Congress and that your superiors and those that you work with are going to be able to do their work better because of the attention post 9/11?
I will basically just say that the comment that I hear most often, without having a personal opinion about resources at this point, but the comment I hear most often from working level people on both sides, CIA and FBI, involved directly in the bin Laden business, is one with a panic-stricken look in their eyes, saying, "We're going to miss stuff. We're missing stuff. We are missing stuff. We can't keep up." So I believe that resources, I know that resources are being shifted to meet this, and they're continuing to be shifted. I know that technology continues to be modified, and sort of the nightmare scenario is that the modifications and the resources won't get there in time. We also understand we can't do this in 5 minutes. We can't fix it in 5 minutes. But I will tell you right now from the front lines is that the feeling is one that there's just too much information still to handle and not enough people to do it.
Some foreboding.
I would say most field agents are still frustrated. They realize we've come, with regards to the FISA issues that we've discussed, with the wall being set down, that we've come a long way. But we also realize with the magnitude of what happened September 11th, in trying to prevent that in the future, we need to go further. We need to make sure that all the walls that we talked about here today continue to come down, and that when information is compartmentalized, that somebody's accountable for that, why that reason is, to all agencies, not just the FBI or CIA or anything. So we have some sense that we've made some progress, but Senator, my estimation, just from being where I am, is that we need to continue that and go a lot further.
I thank you, and I thank both chairmen.